Regarded as the father of first-person shooters, id Software's Doom had long set the standard for first-person action when the studio entered production on the franchise's fourth numbered entry. Doom 3 hadn't exactly hit the mark, though, a sentiment shared among critics and series faithful who begrudged the game for prioritizing its technical prowess at the expense of gameplay. Doom 4 ran the risk of falling into the same trap, its earliest version bearing more in common with Call of Duty than classic id-developed shooters. Doom 4 1.0, as developers have called it, centralized a narrative with big ideas that replace the usual Doom Slayer hero with an average Joe surrounded by a cast of characters. A cinematic level of spectacle rested at the heart of the would-be experience, all while a more plodding style of gameplay drove the action. Instead of the brand's genre-defining fast-paced combat, Doom 4 1.0 implemented cover-based mechanics and drawn-out final kills that robbed the shooter of its trademark momentum. After closely examining the work in progress, leadership at id Software shelved 1.0 and organized talks to reevaluate Doom's fundamentals. A pair of reboots and the realization that id functioned best as a one-game studio emerged from various meetings with developers and parent company ZeniMax Media. The development house lost quite a bit of veteran talent during this season of change as well, though new blood would come in to help shake things up considerably. Ultimately, this trying time in company history begat what became Doom 2016, the reboot that repositioned the father of first-person shooters as the key to rejuvenating a genre that many would say had grown stale in its absence. This is the tragedy of Doom 4. This video has been brought to you in part by boot.dev. Are you ready to dive into the world of back-end web development? If you've been looking for an exciting interactive way to learn, then look no further than boot.dev, the smartest way to master back-end development using Python and Go. Boot.dev doesn't just teach you code, it brings it to life like a captivating RPG game. With their hands-on lessons, you'll get plenty of real-time coding practice because they know the only way to learn is by doing. And if you ever get stuck, there's Boots, the bear wizard who guides you through each lesson, helping you understand instead of just handing over answers. Beyond lessons, Boot.dev keeps you motivated with achievements, levels, and an active Discord community ready to help if you're ever in a jam. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and use our code for 25% off your first month, or the entire year if you go annual. They have a solid 30-day refund policy and a free course demo, allowing you to try it risk-free. Get started with boot.dev and level up your coding journey today. Shortly after wrapping development on Quake 3 Team Arena in late 2000, id Software entered production on Doom 3 with a crew of fewer than 24 people on board. The then next-gen id Tech 4 powered the shooter, providing realistic lighting, an improved range of dynamic effects, better animations, and higher-end graphics. Such advanced technology brought the series into a brand new era, where the narrative suddenly carried more weight than in previous installments. The result was a corridor shooter whose conflicting design often felt at odds with the core tenets of Doom. Lead programmer Robert Duffy later admitted in a no-clip documentary that developers on the third game were perhaps too obsessive with quality. In spite of its shortcomings, Doom 3 reviewed well and went on to sell more than 3.5 million units. However, as series co-creator John Carmack told audiences during QuakeCon 2007, id had no intention of playing it safe by running right into Doom 4 after shipping the 2004 iteration. The studio made a conscious decision to broaden its horizons, spending the next year and change producing a canceled project codenamed Darkness. id Software didn't necessarily waste the effort that went into Darkness, considering the megatexture technology that spawned from it begat Rage and the explorable hub worlds within. But Doom would not sit on the sidelines too much longer. A May 2008 press release confirmed production on Doom 4 had just begun, with id staffing up in hopes of hiring the greatest talent and brightest minds the industry had on offer. While the company remained mum on the specifics, CEO Todd Hollinshead later implied the game would pay homage to Doom 2, being that it used Earth as a backdrop for a demonic invasion from hell. Various job listings additionally revealed the title targeted a release across PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360 platforms. At this point, the outfit had adopted changes allowing for the development of multiple games simultaneously. While one team led production on Rage, another group, helmed by artist Kevin Cloud, focused on Doom 4's campaign. In 2010, the Quake Live multiplayer crew run by executive producer Marty Stratton joined Doom to head up a multiplayer suite shooting for 60 FPS gameplay. Sources familiar with the project told Kotaku that what internally became known as Doom 4 1.0 was envisioned as a rework of the original Doom 2. The 1994 sequel starred a lone Marine who escaped hell, only to find Earth overrun by demonic hordes upon his return. But the fourth title's 1.0 version focalized an average, everyday civilian joining a motley crew of resistance fighters trying to combat a hellish invasion. In addition to centering a different type of protagonist, 1.0's style bore little in common with its beloved predecessor. Rather, it took on a cinematic feel, with heavily scripted sequences and set pieces a la Call of Duty. A contingent of id Software employees derisively called the shooter Call of Doom. According to Kotaku sources, conventional wisdom suggested general audiences wanted shooters that mirrored big, bombastic movie experiences. Some staffers could not help but question the merit of this particular outlook, citing 1.0 gameplay sequences featuring pointless and contrived shooting galleries filled with waves of bland enemies. One such segment reportedly comprised an obligatory vehicle scene wherein game AI drove as players launched attacks on demons from a gunner's seat. Another person in the know alleged id Software tried to avoid throwing a bunch of demons in the mix, meaning the hell spawns no longer constituted the primary focus. Pulling some of the attention away from Doom's iconic demonic hordes allowed the world around the players to constantly shift as the Earth itself morphed into a hellish landscape. Humanity struggled amid the changes, evidenced in concept art, character models, and a handful of prototyped missions which showed partially familiar and partially unknown modern-day environments. These descriptions more or less matched leaked screenshots that hit the internet in February 2012, though the depicted scenes were out of date by then. 1.0 had a fair few interesting beats, though, courtesy of vaguely referenced horror and shock elements. Creative director Hugo Martin, who didn't join id until after 1.0's cancellation, teased as much in the no-clip documentary, describing the project as a Robert Zemeckis Contact type of adventure, one whose realistic approach to Doom was buttressed by an incredible level of production value. Still, Martin argued the original prototype drifted too far from the franchise's norm. Marty Stratton echoed this sentiment, divulging how the opening sections featured more zombie-type creatures than demons. Gameplay-wise, 1.0 operated on a totally new vision, complete with cover-based mechanics that id and Bethesda Softworks leadership later determined simply didn't feel right. Bethesda's now former marketing VP Pete Hines explained in a 2015 Polygon interview that the combat was more disconnected, relying heavily on elements seen in other first-person shooters. Hugo Martin maintained the overall concept held plenty of promise, just not with respect to Doom. Bethesda Softworks owner ZeniMax Media acquired id Software in June 2009 for $150 million, providing an influx of resources that facilitated the Doom creators' continued growth and its ability to double down on what it did best. But neither ZeniMax nor id exerted much oversight throughout Doom 4 1.0's production. Reportedly, id executives did not check on the campaign team's progress until after Rage shipped in October 2011. Following a long period of evaluation during the year's final months, higher-ups determined 1.0 had failed to meet their standards and wasted no time shelving the project, a decision many developers agreed felt long overdue. Kevin Cloud, who handled the build's upper-level creative direction, also deemed it the right call in retrospect, admitting 1.0 had veered too far off-path. A leaked CG trailer showcased the direction that sent alarm bells ringing internally, its footage boasting all the hallmarks of a military-style shooter. With this version in the rearview mirror, the first 1.0 reboot encouraged participation from all crew members. Insiders who spoke to Kotaku claimed in-office morale received a much-needed boost as the ideas flew. Such a period only lasted for a short while, however. Between late 2011 and the end of January 2012, id Software conducted a Doom 4 meeting in an attempt to break down the franchise's fundamental elements. Co-creator John Carmack simplified the conundrum by highlighting Doom's two main points of interest: demons and shotguns. Apparently, the gathering wasn't enough to get the ball rolling on the rebooted shooter. One developer alleged that Rage's commercial shortcomings and lukewarm reception precipitated ZeniMax becoming more involved with the goings-on at id Software. Suddenly, internal plans for Rage 2 ground to a halt. In the span of 2 months, ZeniMax met with studio leads, shelved the Rage follow-up, and scaled back its DLC development. The veteran outfit appeared, from ZeniMax's perspective, unable to manage multiple productions at once. As such, Doom 4 graduated to id's sole focus, meaning other previously active projects were either postponed or outright canceled. Marty Stratton offered a disparate point of view when speaking with NoClip. According to the executive, id approached Bethesda Softworks' VP of Development Todd Vaughn sometime after the Doom 4 meeting and asked for assistance regarding the unwieldiness of the company at large. Stratton insisted the choice to refocus the studio on just one project spawned from the realization that id had grown to an almost untenable degree. But regardless of the particulars, the reorganization in early 2012 culminated in yet another creative reboot for Doom's beleaguered fourth mainline installment, this time for 8th generation hardware.
When it finally stops, it reports your survival, just in case you stop paying attention. There are buildings nearby, wreckage, Mars, death.
Reportedly, the abandonment of Rage 2 mixed with Doom's prioritization caused a schism at id, whereby a power struggle emerged as the two groups coalesced into one. The Rage codebase constituted the new guide for the rebooted game's forward momentum, necessitating a lengthy team effort that involved the transfer of Doom's various features. But teamwork didn't come so easily, given the two differing work cultures, based on comments made by one staffer who said production morphed into even more of a mess after the second restart. While both team leads tried establishing best practices, the vision for what Doom 4 would become grew muddy rather quickly. Some of the more inventive creature-related ambitions devolved into mediocre garden variety behaviors, for example. Worst still, the overarching story supposedly received a makeover unbefitting of movies aired on a late-night sci-fi channel. Such missteps were attributed to the mismatched management styles, which in turn fostered haphazard direction. Developers on the ground floor, consequently, felt as if they had little ownership over the shooter, sparking a talent exodus throughout 2012. Even some of its top-tier talent either quit or were fired during this period too. The public had no knowledge of these troubles at the time, with developers keeping fan curiosity at bay by delivering the smallest bits of information piecemeal. During QuakeCon 2012, John Carmack told audiences Doom 4 would be done when it's done. Behind the scenes, the game itself never progressed anywhere near a shippable state. One person claimed id Software only had half a dozen mediocre levels to show for this specific version of the experience because of poor management, poor communication, and an inability to nail down the design. The stunted momentum allegedly jolted a frustrated ZeniMax into action in the first half of 2012. People familiar with his operations told Kotaku that ZeniMax offered an ultimatum, which essentially boiled down to finish the game or else. Exact details concerning the uncorroborated threat were not clarified, yet speculation picked up steam around its headquarters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. One such rumor hinted ZeniMax would shutter the outfit if it didn't complete Doom 4 within a year's time. However, other far more likely rumors suggested ZeniMax threatened to reduce the Doom developers' role into that of a technology-focused satellite dedicated to supporting the proprietary id Tech 5 engine. Bethesda Softworks addressed Kotaku's April 2013 report with a statement confirming Doom 4 remained in development. When discussing the game's production, id executive Marty Stratton made no mention of the report or rumors about the supposed ultimatum from ZeniMax. He instead stated Bethesda deserved a lot of credit for sticking by the studio through the tumultuous period which continued into 2013 when President and CEO Todd Hollinshead left to pursue personal interests. John Carmack resigned that November as well. Later telling USA Today, he opted to not renew his contract because it became clear that he would not have the opportunity to do any work on VR while it id Software. Notably, Carmack had previously promised Doom 4 would implement the VR functionality supported by Oculus Rift. Stratton viewed the restructuring and subsequent departures as a process teams go through amid great change. The executive confirmed that those who disagreed with the shakeup left or were let go. Such shifting tides weren't entirely considered a negative. After all, change opened the door for new talent to come in and inject a fresh wave of energy into both id and the still struggling Doom 4. The result? The critically acclaimed and much beloved Doom 2016. 2013 marked the project's final reboot, giving the studio approximately 3 years to transform Doom 4's disparate parts into a fun and cohesive shooter. Hugo Martin, an artist and writer with credits on Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, and Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim, joined id as creative director and helped set the stage for the long-awaited Doom revival. The Stratton and Martin-led crew shed much of what had come before and, in doing so, reprioritized the brand's fundamental gameplay pillars. In Shack News' piece about the making of Doom, Stratton and Martin also recalled the conscious decision to revisit classic monsters such as Barons of Hell, Imps, and the Mancubus, all of whom underwent a redesign to the chagrin of fans for Doom 3. But despite the emphasis on re-examining the series' roots and developing novel ideas, the studio had no interest in abandoning all of 1.0 and its later iterations. Stratton disclosed that Doom 4 1.0 boasted a sync melee system, whereby players would close in on a foe and initiate a synced animation melee attack that insta-killed the targeted enemy. The system felt too slow, however. Even in its pre-reboot stage, developers knew the cinematic approach to what would become known as glory kills needed a significant boost in momentum, something that provided a Fruit Ninja with demons kind of feel. Animators devised a solution by creating animatics that sped up the synced animation system, a process which directly informed Doom 2016's push-forward combat and glory kills. For veterans like Kevin Cloud, who'd been attached to Doom 4 in its numerous forms, the system's gradual formulation recontextualized their approach to first-person shooters. The endeavor to design the fastest and most chaotic Doom game would not go unnoticed either. Almost 8 years to the day after Doom 4's May 2008 announcement, the id Tech 6-powered Doom hit store shelves for PC, PS4, and Xbox One on May 13, 2016. The franchise reboot, not unlike its predecessors, redefined first-person shooters with visceral gameplay, a genre-defining heavy metal soundtrack, and an unmatched sense of responsiveness. Stratton and company contend the award-winning shooter wouldn't have been possible without the myriad missteps along the way. By the same token, the future of Doom would scarcely look so promising if not for the highs and lows that dogged Doom 4 1.0's trek through the development hell from which it eventually ascended. Thank you for watching our video. We'd like to take this time to thank, by name, the generous Patreons who have pledged to our Hall of Fame reward tier. Disco Cobra 2013, Ice Cold Water $1, Karu, Sauerkraut, Shuan Chinwin, and those currently subscribed to our producer reward tier: Adam Miller, Brock Piviroto, Darirab Sigurdsson, Dave Oshry, DCX-NG, DJ Redden, Eric Bedio, Fallen Asterisk, It's Peanut Butter, Crash Course, Jan Christofferson, Matthew McLaughlin, Rebobbed, Roberto Nieves, Sir Alex, C. Rob Kaysen, Taylor Moten, Your B. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to our channel and backing us on Patreon.